My name's Pete Zeraw. Welcome to our first episode of Building Capacity, Leadership in Educational Facilities. I've spent the last 35 years working with a range of communities to understand how their built environment can best serve their needs and ultimately helping make that happen. Along the way, I've been meeting remarkable people doing that same kind of work, people like John Shea. Hey, John.
Hey, Peter. Thanks so much. I am so excited to be a part of this podcast. For the record, you were one of the first people I met when I entered the facilities management world, and I think that our being together again after all this time illustrates exactly why we're doing it. To be successful in this field, we and everyone listening don't need to be building managers. We need to lead people, and that can be pretty challenging. The fact that after 35 years you and I are still passionate about engaging smart people in conversation about how to support the educational process through our lens of infrastructure says to me that there's always something to learn and there's always someone who can teach us how to be better. And that's the forum we're providing.
Can't agree more. Can't agree more. All right, so we're going to begin the journey with a woman of vision who helped inspire this podcast. Welcome, Jill Alshouse. Jill is an educational leadership executive at Apple. We're so delighted to have you with us, Jill.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Jill, we first met last fall at the Influence Group's 2024 K-12 Facilities Forum in Arizona. I was facilitating a panel with John and three other colleagues, and we were discussing pressing issues facing the elementary and secondary education communities today. This podcast idea was born that morning. I have to ask you, what were you thinking about when you suggested it? What was going through your head?
I was thinking, I don't want this conversation to end. I felt like it was far too short, and there were so many things I wanted to hear and everybody else wanted to hear, because I remember people saying, yes, do it, do it.
But I mean, why are these kind of conversations, why are they important? Or why do you think that they belong in this kind of setting? Like, what was going on that made it feel like this was something we should continue?
Yeah, I think it was really, really cool that you had directors such as John Shea up on the stage that lead huge school districts and have these enormous tasks on them. And they do it so elegantly. And the things that they were saying were just helping give me, and I think the other people in the audience, a glimpse into what they do, because it's very rare to get to hear from people that have such enormous jobs and have been doing it for a long time very successfully. And so I really loved hearing about what they have to think about, because in my mind, the things that they were saying were not what I thought they would talk about. I thought they would talk about the people that are on their teams and more of the day-to-day tasks, which those are things that are interesting to me too. But as they got to talking about the school board members and the holistic way that they go about their jobs and who they have to report to and the things that they have to pay attention to, whether it's, closing schools down and giving those options a run through in their minds, those are things I did not even think about. And it felt like we were just getting to all of that deep in conversation with what they've done and they're doing in their districts. And then it was over. And it was like, no, we want to hear more.
That's awesome. Who do you think this is going to be interesting to, or who should listen to this, because it's not like we're giving a charge, but who do you think would be getting value out of our conversations?
I think anyone in K-12 organizations would love to listen to this and gain great perspective. I think superintendents should listen, because I think a lot of times when it comes to facilities, I don't think superintendents are in the conversation a lot, and they probably should be. I think that school principals should, because we all have to have environments, and they may not always have a chance to get to hear from people that have these roles, and getting to learn what they do and what they're responsible for is enormous. And so I think it's a wonderful learning opportunity for anyone in a K-12 organization.
What about other partners? Because it's interesting to me to hear from you and your perspective as Apple, the big tech company. And when you said that stuff, it really made me reflect and say, we can't do this alone. And you mentioned a whole bunch of other stakeholders, but I think partners like yourself are a big part of what we do. We can't do our jobs without your help and your support. So,
Well, that's a great question. I think that there are a lot of partners that could benefit from this, like tech companies. Like for my work, going out to work with schools, like tech is ubiquitous now. We have to have it in schools. So thinking about those that have organizations that make panels that go on the walls. I mean, you probably have to work very closely with them, John, because where are they going to go? Where's the electricity? I think school furnishing companies like Meteor Education, they're going to want to listen to this because, again, you are responsible for the footprint. And again, every learning environment, you're responsible for that. But then the things that go in those spaces, there are lots of companies that do that put things in those spaces, whether it's technology or furniture or electrical outlets. So much. I think they're going to want to hear from you as well because we all need each other, right?
it takes a village.
Absolutely. Yep.
I'm just curious your perspective on this. We want to make sure that as we do this, people listening take away the right messages. We've been very clear that we're not wanting to do a conversation about our favorite brick or
Right.
how to rewire that outlet, right?
Right.
It's about those people and those leaders, but I'm curious if there's something in particular you think that either you left with or we should make sure we get listeners to leave with as a takeaway from these episodes.
Yeah. I hope that those that listen really lean into the systems that you all put in place, John. That's something that I was talking to Pete about earlier. Like, to me, the job that you have is enormous. And thinking about the systems that, like, when you came into your role, what was it like? And then what did you have to do? Because I care so much about like leadership and change management and systems. And anyone can use those tips and tricks in their role. So, when you came in, what was it like? What did you have to change? How did you change those mindsets of people? Did you have to change job descriptions? Did you have to, like, I think about these things like in your office. I want to know about your day-to-day. Do you have like this wall of a map of every single school? And then do you have like systems that are color-coded? Those are the things that I wonder about with your job. Like, how do you stay on top of it all? How do you get everything accomplished? Because you've obviously done an amazing job because you've been in that role for such a long time. How do you continue to stay on top of it? And anyone can use those tips and tricks that you share in their job. Like anything you share, I can use in my job. Like, what systems do you put in place? That's what I'm really curious about.
That's a really helpful reminder because you started off earlier talking about that panel and the fact that it was these big school districts that were represented. But I think your comment is really important. We need to make sure that whatever conversation we have, it connects with people at all different scales and in all different circumstances, right? Because New York City is very different than where you are in Lexington. And that's very different than in a small town in remote Montana. And we want to make sure that everybody who chooses to listen can take away something that is not, we're not voyeuristically watching what's happening in Chicago. We're actually taking something away from that. That's a really helpful reminder, Jill. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think about the people that were in the audience. Most of us out there, we were in small school districts. And so, but we were all so eager to still hear more from all of you, because if you all have been so successful in your jobs, then we want to learn from you. What have you done that's helped make you so successful and make things run so smoothly? That's what I hope to learn from John and from everyone that comes on the podcast.
Fantastic. So this has been just a brief conversation with you, Jill, but we're looking forward to having you back for a future, more extended conversation discussing
great.
tech and education and maybe a bit more about why you're so passionate about it. If you're game.
Sure.
Are you game?
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'd be happy to do that. Absolutely.
Thanks so much for joining us on the very first episode of this adventure we're on. Really appreciate your idea and being with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad you're doing this.
Great to see you, Jill. Thanks so much.
Great to see you too.